Tonight, human remains. A body is found at a home in Fort Nelson. Oil spill. Traffic is moving again on Highway 97 near Muncho Lake. And bear aware. Warm weather spells the end of hibernation season. Well, good evening and thank you for joining us. And we begin tonight with human remains found in Fort Nelson. Now, the Northern Rockies RCMP is releasing very little information, but sources say the remains were discovered at a house. There was a police presence today at a residence on Klahani Drive. The CJDC-TV News reached out to police in Fort Nelson to confirm the name of the deceased. We asked if the death was suspicious in nature and if there was any threat to public safety. Mounties were unable to confirm any of that information at this point as it's early in their investigation, but they did say the BC Coroner Service is working to confirm the identity of the body. Well, traffic is down to one lane on part of the Alaska Highway west of Fort Nelson. The highway was closed yesterday south of Muncho Lake after a fuel spill. A rear tanker was compromised in the incident, according to the Ministry of Environment. It spilled anywhere from 6,000 to 8,000 liters into a creek that drains into the Toad River. Highway 37 was the only detour around the spill. It has since reopened today after being closed for avalanche control work yesterday. And drivers can expect delays on Friday as maintenance will be taking place on the Taylor Bridge. There'll be single lane alternating traffic from 7 o'clock Friday night to 3 a.m. on Saturday. Vehicles will be escorted over the bridge by a pilot truck. And drivers can expect up to 20-minute delays. Oversized loads will be required to wait until after 3 a.m. in order to cross. With the recent warm weather, residents of Northeast BC are being urged to be aware of bears. The animals are emerging from months of hibernation over the coming weeks. Officials say be alert and secure your garbage bins. A key way the public can help reduce the number of bear deaths is to remove anything that can lure the animals to their properties, garbage being the top offender. Officials say residents, businesses, and communities all need to do their part to secure other attractants as well, such as pet food and birdseed. Conservation officers are also urging residents to be aware of their surroundings when out in the woods. 303 black bears were killed in BC last year due to human-wildlife conflict. It's almost half as many bears as the previous year. Wait times for cancer patients in British Columbia has fallen dramatically over the past 2 years. And BC is set to wind down a program that sent cancer patients to the U.S. for radiation treatment. And for the past 2 years, patients facing long wait times have had the option of traveling to Washington State to receive care. Officials say the wait times from this February show 93% of patients are now waiting fewer than 4 weeks for treatment. That's also above the national benchmark of 90%. And compare that to the 69% when the program began back in 2023. Health Minister Josie Osborne says it has nothing to do with the current political climate and that the temporary contracts are simply coming to an end.
Bring more cancer care for people closer to home, and so the investments we've made in more oncologists, more radiation therapy therapists, improving hospital facilities, that's what's been able to enable us to reduce those wait times, reach the benchmarks that we wanted to reach, and then be able to stop these contracts.
More than 1,100 patients have received radiation treatment south of the border since 2023. BC's Human Rights Commissioner was in Victoria today delivering data from an inquiry into the exercise of emergency detentions under the Adult Guardianship Act.
While adults are being held for their own safety, their rights to fair process, including knowing why they are being held against their will or what they can do about it, are often denied.
The AGA is legislation permitting certain BC agencies to provide emergency assistance to adults who appear to be abused or neglected and are not considered capable of giving or refusing consent to receive care. The inquiry revealed serious human rights issues, noting that a significant number of adults are being detained under the Act with little to no legal oversight. These issues have a disproportionate impact on seniors, unhoused individuals, and other people considered to be among the most vulnerable populations in British Columbia. Well, a 43-year-old man from Oregon who sexually abused and abducted an Edmonton teen will spend the next 50 years behind bars. And we want to warn you, this story contains disturbing details. Noah Medrano pled guilty in January to sexual exploitation of a child and transportation of a minor with the intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. He admitted to meeting the 13-year-old victim online, grooming her, and then posting sexual images of her online. She was reported missing in Edmonton in June of 2022 and was found in an Oregon hotel room 9 days later. Medrano groomed the 13-year-old, kidnapped her, then smuggled her across the U.S. border in the trunk of his car. And for more than a week, she was subject to sexual and physical abuse and death threats while her family, police, and the community all frantically searched for her. Well, the latest polling from Nanos Research shows the Conservatives gaining ground on the federal Liberals. Now compare that to 3 days ago, the Liberals are down more than 3 points among decided voters, while the Conservatives have gained the same amount. As far as the NDP, they continue to slide, stuck at around 8% support. When it comes to who Canadians prefer as Prime Minister, Mark Carney still leads by a wide margin, but he also has seen a 3% drop in his support. Pierre Poilievre, meantime, has seen an increase of 4%. And on the campaign trail, it was all about the leaders today. A spotlight now shining on those fighting for their seats. While the Conservatives found support in former Prime Minister, CTV's Colton Prale explains.
He is our leader, and he is the next Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre.
After thousands came out to support Pierre Poilievre in the largest rally of the campaign, the Conservative leader with a new message for working Canadians.
You can't avoid your taxes. Global elites should not be able to either.
In a move aimed directly at Mark Carney's corporate resume, Poilievre is promising to close offshore tax loopholes and redirect Canada's tax agency to focus on big corporations rather than small businesses.
We will target tax havens, expose offshore fortunes, and bring the money home. All of this with the goal of reducing the tax burden on the people in this country.
Canadian wood, right? Canadian wood. We can help you with that.
In BC, both the Liberals and NDP focused on housing. Mark Carney highlighting his goal to double the speed of construction and promising to defend Canada's softwood lumber industry from a new set of American tariffs.
Well, the U.S. is trying to keep high-quality, sustainable Canadian lumber out. We will use more of it here.
The NDP are promising to make the existing ban on foreign home buyers permanent and raise taxes on flipping homes.
Big money investors buying up Canadian homes. That should be a ban. Homes in Canada should be for you and your family, not for rich investors to get richer.
In front of the Supreme Court, the Bloc defending Quebec's use of the notwithstanding clause. But like Jagmeet Singh, Yves-François Blanchet found himself facing more questions about the safety of his seat than his policies.
But I'm pretty safe in my riding, but that belongs to those who will vote.
And the Green Party unveiled its healthcare platform today, guaranteeing primary care for every Canadian, universal pharmacare, and expanding dental care. Colton Prale, CTV News, Ottawa.
Health officials in New York have named Ontario in a recent measles travel advisory. The notice is urging tourists to get vaccinated before visiting the province as it grapples with an ongoing outbreak. The advisory states measles is only a car ride away, and it says because the disease is so contagious, it can easily cross borders. Last week, Ontario reported 89 new cases of the measles. That's down slightly from 100 reported a week earlier. The outbreak is believed to be predominantly tied to unvaccinated children in southwestern Ontario. The province's top doctor has said the outbreak will likely extend into this summer. And a new warning tonight for Canadians who are traveling to the United States. Be prepared for extra scrutiny when crossing the American border. As Vanessa Wright reports, the increased protocols may be the new normal.
At a time of year when travel is picking up, more Canadians are ditching plans across the border and opting for a staycation.
The inquiry for the U.S. travel is significantly dropped down as compared to the previous year. Like we used to receive a lot of inquiries for U.S. travel, but now it's gone down.
It comes as the federal government delivered a brisk warning to Canadians that they could face detention should they be denied entry into the U.S.
there's no longer a free ride into the United States, not when President Trump is playing the tariff game. So beware for both customs and immigration.
This immigration lawyer says with politics now at play, people can expect tougher questions and possibly have their phones and laptops searched.
If you are carrying communication that confirms your specific point of view on your cell, in your computer, in social media, you're fair game for the Americans' customs and immigration officers. And if there is support in any way for a terrorist group, as defined by the Americans, found in your laptop or your cell phone, you're out, and you may be out permanently.
Travelers say that's even more reason to stay local until tensions pipe down.
It's concerning to travel across the border, and I believe in supporting Canada, and that's what we intend to do.
It just makes me feel very unsafe. So if I could stay within Canada, that's where I would definitely stay.
I wish people understood how beautiful it is here and how much it is that you can see without really having to truly leave your backyard.
But Curlin says there are precautions Canadians can take if they decide to fly or drive to the U.S.
First, clean that car. Empty the trunk, empty the glove compartment. You have no clue what you're trying to import, and an American officer can find it. Second, have a backup. If you can bring in a burner phone instead of your regular cell phone, do it. Do you really need that computer on the trip? Don't bring it or get a cheap alternative. And third, answer honestly, directly, and quickly to every question. Assume nothing.
Canadian retaliatory tariffs on some U.S. vehicles will go into effect tomorrow. The 25% counter duties were announced last week. They relate to vehicles imported from the United States that are not compliant with the free trade agreement between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. Well, today the finance minister said the tariffs will remain in place until the U.S. eliminates its duties against the Canadian auto sector. The White House now confirming the United States will slap a 104% tariff on China effective at midnight tonight. China was already facing a 34% tariff tomorrow, but Donald Trump boosted that number after Beijing promised to respond with counter tariffs of its own. China says it will not back down to American bullying, leading to questions about what could come next. Well, here's what the White House press secretary had to say today about that.
It was a mistake for China to retaliate. The president, when America is punched, he punches back harder. That's why there will be 104% tariffs going into effect on China tonight at midnight.
The White House is signaling it will be up to China to reach out to Washington if they want to seek out a new trade deal. Developing news out of North Dakota tonight, the Keystone oil pipeline has been shut down after a rupture caused it to leak. The pipeline carries oil from Alberta through Saskatchewan and Manitoba to refineries in Oklahoma and Texas. According to an investigator, an employee working at the site near Fort Ransom heard a mechanical bang that shut down the pipeline within about 2 minutes. The management company Southbow says the affected segment has been isolated and that operations and containment resources have been deployed. So far, there's no word on the size of the spill. All right, please do stay tuned. I'll be right back with a look at weather, but as we head to break, here's a look at today's closing market numbers.